everybody, and welcome back to the Dream Team Tonic podcast, episode 81. I'm Tony, and with me as usual is Ben. Are you there, Ben?
I'm here, mate.
And James, are you there?
I'm here, Tony.
And for his monthly appearance, Fergi, are you there, mate?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Very excited.
Good to have you, mate. Big welcome to our newest patron, Andrew Tweddle. Thanks very much for your support. Thanks for everyone's support. Everyone who supports us through Patreon. Just in time for the Patreon Cup, which is starting in game week 11. We're gonna draw the group stages this week. So exciting times for that. Good laugh last year. Ben, you won it last year, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
You fancying your chances of successfully defending your crown?
Well, hopefully, not the way the season's gone for me so far.
We'll see. It is a good laugh, though.
Yeah,
I'm hoping Fergie doesn't knock me out by 1 point this year.
Ooh, I must have stung. Me.
So jammy.
Did you not make it through the group stages either, James?
Sorry?
Did you not make it through the group?
No, I did. Yeah, no, made it. I was definitely made it out of the group stages. Did quite well. I think Man City were playing Real Madrid away, and I was beating Fergie, and then it all went Pete Tong, and he beat me by 1 point, and it knocked me out. So I was a bit aggrieved by that, if you recall.
I just waited and waited, mate. Struck at the right time. You know how it goes. Timed it just right.
Well, I didn't even make it past the group stages, so hopefully I can do a little bit better this year. We'll see how that goes. Right, Fergie, being the guest, time to have a look at your team, mate. How's it going?
Tough season. That's how it's going. Yeah. I'm doing okay in all the other formats, Sky, FPL, and Telegraph. But it just seems whatever I do in this one this season, stay patient, try and chase a few points wherever I seem to do. It doesn't seem to happen. But I'll run through my team anyway. Got Ramsdale in goals, who was the joint best performer out of my back five this week with 0. Fafana also had a stormer for me with 0. Sessegnon came on for a -2. Trent, who I've just held on to, -3. And I used my last transfer. I'm not sure whether it's still the right thing. I was trying to think more longer term, but the more I think about it, I don't think it is the right move, because Robertson's been injured, and he's not going to play 90 now, I don't think, for weeks and weeks. I brought in Simicast just because he's cheap, playing twice a week. I actually think he's a really good player in his own right, but I brought him in for Saliba, and the reason for that, Arsenal's fixtures are quite tough in the league now for the next few, and he didn't play in Europe either, so I don't think that Saliba's going to get many points for the next few. So I thought the Liverpool might get a clean sheet against Brighton. They play Rangers midweek and obviously next week as well. So reasonably hopeful of something in one of those, maybe one clean sheet. But yeah, so I used my last transfer on that. Midfield's a shambles. I've got Kulusevski, I brought in after game week 1, after his haul, and he's done absolutely nothing since. And obviously he's done his hamstring, so I'm hoping he comes back midweek. I've got Diaz, who I've brought in after all his hauls. Luis Diaz, he's done nothing. I mean, he got an assist on the weekend, was only worth 2 points off the bench. And I brought in Harvey Elliott as an enabler, who I think was rested for the first time on the weekend. So that's a bit of a shambles as well. But it does allow me up front to have the power 3 of Salah, Kane and Haaland, which is why, the rest isn't looking great. So I think I'm on about, 340 points. I'm just averaging like 30 points a week the last 4 weeks. Treading water. I used my final transfer yesterday, so I've been trying today to come up with a bit of a plan to just kind of reconfigure my team a little, because I'm just leaking points left, right. I'm scoring points. If I didn't have Haaland, I think I may even be not far off minus points over the last 3 or 4 weeks. That's how crazy it is. And I'm hoping it's not only me, but it just feels like can't get a point from anywhere, a real haul from anywhere. Those who had Foden, amazing this afternoon, but obviously his ownership is really low. Can't get a clean sheet from anywhere. So really need to have a think and try and attack these last 6 weeks now before the World Cup. getting the key players that I'm going to want to hold and not want to have to buy in after the World Cup and stuff. So yeah, that's my T. I think this is ranked about 350k at the moment, but I'm struggling across the board. I think my best team is ranked like 111k. So nothing to shout home about at all.
Are you going to use that value from an underperforming Salah and Trent, or are you going to hold even longer?
I think so. Definitely Salah. Like, just on the eye test and and the stats. I mean, he's going to have to do a lot more than score a goal to to kind of warrant his price. The difference with Haaland and Kane is they're so good on the ratings. Obviously, that every time they do anything, they normally do it, and their teams are playing well. They're the focal points of their attacks, whereas Salah's not the focal point of their attack anymore. So my immediate thoughts is a big downgrade on Salah. And just have a bit of a reshuffle, get rid of maybe Kulusevski, definitely get rid of Elliott. Maybe look at a Mr. Thiago Silva, we're going to touch on later, who's the absolute craziest stat I think I've ever seen in Dream Team.
Yeah.
Touch on that later. Maybe get rid of Ramsdale as well, as I say, because he's not playing in Europe. So, yeah, at the moment, I'm thinking Salah potentially down to... Please don't laugh. I think I've taken a bit of a punt on Scamacca because he may have usurped Antonio potentially as the number one. I think he's going to play in Europe as well, or get minutes in Europe. 2.9 million at the moment. He looks like he's going to go up, but I should release a good 4.5 million out of him from Salah, which will enable me to maybe even doing some, I don't know, like Elliott. Like look at West Ham's fixtures, which I'm sure we'll touch on a bit. West Ham's fixtures, they seem to have hopefully turned the corner now as well. But they look to have the best fixtures overall from now until the end. Like home to Fulham, they're in the Europa Conference. They've got Southampton, they've got Bournemouth. So that's my current very, very loose plan. But yeah, we will see. Tough going, really tough going at the moment.
Yeah, Scamacca had a good game the other day. He looked good.
He did, and he's outscoring Salah, but so is everyone else.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Right, on to
I've never known a season like it. Have you guys known a season like it for clean sheets or lack of clean sheets?
No.
Mental.
Not this far into the season, usually it's settled down. It's usually someone picking up clean sheets at least one of the big sides. Usually a couple of them.
Normally, like you see like 8 points kind of across the board. When you keep a clean sheet, so 8 points. The only player I can really look at who, well, there's two. There's Silva for Chelsea, which is just bizarre though, because they haven't been keeping clean sheets. It's just the sheer things of getting ratings and star men, and Cancelo for Man City. But other than that, they're the only ones who I'm seeing like even reasonably kind of regular 8 points in defence. Whereas in previous seasons, there's 8s across the board, isn't there? They'll have a block or semi-block, 8-8, 5-8, 8-5-5.
Yeah,
it's nothing, absolutely nothing this season. It's mental.
Well, defensive walls in mind, in my side, the best performing defender I had were -2.
Good work.
So Lloris in goal for a -2. Akanji, who picked up a -2 today against United. Sessegnon, a -2. Nice for him to bring him on for that -2. And then I did actually call this last week. I'm trying to find the soundbite of it. We were on about Delors as an option. And we're on about, I don't know who it was who had asked the question about bringing him in. And I said I'd avoid bringing him in before City for a -6. And he sat on a -6 for me. I didn't bring him in this week. You're already in my team. But yeah, so called that one. So yeah, Delors -6. So my 4 defensive players will be an overall score of -12. But that being said, I still managed to pick up 68 points this week.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, I mean, I just had the players. Kulusevski didn't play. Hopefully back for midweek. Odegaard 0, De Bruyne 7, a couple of assists. Foden hat trick 23 points. Haaland 32 points, hat trick and 2 assists. Kane just trickling along 5 points, and Jesus 13 points. Only trouble with Jesus is he probably won't play midweek, will he? But it'd be nice if he could get a few minutes at least. I've one transfer
really
left.
unlucky.
What's it? Go on.
So you say you're really unlucky with Foden, because how many times would you give a player score a hat trick and not get star man?
That's true.
Unbelievable.
It'd have been nicer if the
Exactly.
if the points would have gone to Foden, wouldn't it, for the bit of a differential, like. But yeah, one transfer remaining in this team, 0.4 in the bank. Before the games, I was looking at Kulusevski and Dalot, even Sessegnon, but they weren't much doing there. So I'll probably just either make a play for a bit of value, just see how it goes. Use that last transfer Thursday night after the European games. Try and steal a little bit more value before. It's a big month, October, isn't it?
Massive.
A short one in November. Going to try and maximise as many 0.3 mils as we can, because with the way the City team's going, the prices are going to be they're just huge.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be very, for the people that have a big budget after this mini wild card in the World Cup. I think the City blocks are going to be, for the people that can afford them, going to be right up there. So yeah, bit of value gaining. I think that's what I'll be after. 426 in total now for this podcast team, which is decent really, because usually the podcast team just is one of my teams that just drops off completely. So I'm happy he's doing a little bit this year. Not sure what place that is. 1 second. That's 103k. That best side is in 1.3k.
Wow, what a performance!
It's been tough. It's been tough, and it's a strange start to the season. I've just got a little bit lucky with this side, which went City heavy early doors, which has obviously been the play, hasn't it? Ben, over to your side, mate.
Yeah. 41 points this week. Not too good. 390 points. Still not at the 400 mark. So I've got, at the back, I've got De Gea from -5. Sessegnon -2 off the bench.
Hell.
Alexander Arnold -3. Cancelo 1. And Emerson Palmieri came off the bench for a nice 5-pointer.
Whoosh.
Happy days. At least something went right in my back line. I've got one transfer left. Obviously, Kulusevski's injured, but there was nothing really I wanted to move on to, and I'm hoping that Kulusevski might be back midweek. There weren't really anything there that's going to get me any points that I thought of. So I thought, like you said, save the transfer. I might use it for a price rise on Thursday or something, or even move out somebody who's big high priced, and then I can mess around with my next 5 transfers next week and sort my team out, like Fergie said. Elliott's in there, came off the bench, but obviously didn't get a rating, so 0 points. De Bruyne 2 assists. Haaland 32 points, smashed it. I brought Salah in for Kane. Bit of a punt. I think he's got better pit fixtures than Kane for the next few weeks, and I really liking Liverpool playing at home this week. I was expecting Salah to get something against Brighton, and they're playing Rangers on Tuesday. I think that could be a good game to target, but the way they played at the weekend, I'm not too sure now. I thought that after the international break, they'd go away, sort the team out, drill the team, and come back and be a different team. But I know Brighton are doing well anyway, but yeah, they didn't look too well. So not too sure about that transfer now. But yeah, I'm going to stick with him. Obviously, I can't do anything until till next week when I get the transfers, and then I'll reassess. I don't fancy Kane to get anything against Frankfurt on Wednesday. So was it Wednesday? So that's why I did the transfer. And I got Martinelli, got an assist, and it got booked, so he got 4 points. So yeah,
Solid enough. Martinelli's ticked along nicely for his price, hasn't
yeah. Just a shame he's a striker in the game, but
he? Yeah.
there's not much going on up front at the moment. If you want a player from the top sides, so I thought it was worth bringing him in. And obviously there was a blank last week, so that's when I brought him in.
Yeah. James, over to you, mate.
The terrible form continues. Luckily, I had a defender that didn't start this week, so I'm only on -9 for my defence. Woohoo! Cucurella's ill, so he didn't. I got nothing from him. -2 from Lloris, -3 from Trent, -2 from Simicas, and -2 from Sassignon. Midfield, nil points. Sterling, Carvalho, and Odegaard. I brought Odegaard in for Kulesveski because obviously he was out, and it sounded to me like, well, I've been looking at getting rid of him anyway because he hasn't done a great deal since that first game. I mean, I've tried to keep the faith. He does look good, but he's just not picking up any points. So I had a transfer left. I bit the bullet, brought in Odegaard. Did nothing. Up front, I've got the big three, so at least I got some points off of them. But 30 points overall this week is shocking. At least I did in my top team. I did bring in Phil Foden this week, so some good news.
Well,
But,
don't talk to me about that. I had the exact money to go from Mahrez to Foden, and I didn't do it. I thought, I'll keep them. I'll keep it. And
I'll go with Mahrez. He's the man.
I know he's on the bench, but I just thought he could play in the Champions League on midweek. So, and I thought Foden might only get 8 points, and he was crap for England over the international break. Comes back and then scores a hat trick. Ah, well.
I was going to bring him in my FPL side for them, but after his performance for England, no. But
they were all like proper striker goals, all three of them as well, wasn't they?
Yeah.
They were all like really, really good finishes.
Yeah.
Haaland-esque almost.
Yeah,
really good.
Lovely. Thought Grealish played well as well. Again, it's 2 good games back to back for him for City now.
Yeah,
right.
no attacking returns though at all.
I know.
I don't think he releases. No, I don't think. I was watching him earlier, and every time he picks the ball up, if you look when Foden gets it or Bernardo Silva gets it, Haaland makes a run and they find him in the channels. Grealish just holds on to it too much all the time, I think, and it gives him time to get back and kind of regroup. Happens over and over again. He's just like he's a wonderful player, but for me, he's not a Man City player who are all about pass, move, find the gap. He's just not that kind of player, is he? It's a shame.
Yeah, he had probably 2 or 3 opportunities where he probably should have took the shot, or like you say, released the ball a bit earlier.
Exactly that. Yeah.
He's such a good player though. Like, he's played well last 2 games. But probably I would say I watch quite a lot of Man City. I think he's probably 2 of his best performances in his City shirt the last 2 games. So maybe he is getting there. He just, like you say, he just needs to release that ball a bit earlier, slowing things down a little bit.
I just think as well, like I don't think they've gained anything with getting Grealish because whoever they stick out, on that position for me will do at least as well as Grealish anyway. I think I think you're right. He has had 2 good games for him, but that's only because he's been poor. So his good games now bring him up to level required sort of thing. Yeah. But all the players that have gone or the players that are on the bench could do just as good a job as him, I think. So
yeah.
But anyway,
100 million is a big load of money in it.
It is.
Foden didn't look out of place on that right hand side today. Was he all right?
Incredible.
Yeah, those three are doing quite well. Right, list of questions. DT Patrick. Question 1. After Haaland, KDB and Cancelo, who are your 2 or 3 City player picks for October? James.
Well, I think this is going to be an obvious one, but I would say Foden is the obvious choice. I quite like the look of, well, if Walker's out for a while, he came off injured today, didn't he? So I think Gomez could be a good option. He looks like he might be the guy to fill in, although I think Ake can play there as well. But yeah, Gomez 3.7 million. If Walker's out for a while, I think would be my second choice.
Yeah. Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously Foden after his performance today. Yeah, Gomez, like you said, comes in now if Walker's injured. And I think I'd like to have another Man City defender in there if you can afford him. Ruben Diaz, I think he'll start playing now. He was just on the bench when he. But
So
I do
expensive
like.
though, isn't he?
Sorry.
So expensive though. It's
Yeah, that's
5.7 million.
that's what I was about to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford that, Akanji's 4 million. So, but obviously Laporte's back as well. He's on the bench. It's just a bit. They're gonna get rotated, aren't they?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even if they're coming off the bench, they're gonna hopefully get a clean sheet. So you've got the chance of getting 5 points. But if not, then maybe Bernardo Silva or something like that. 4.6 million.
Yeah. Fergie?
Yeah, I think in any other year, I would say Laporte. I've always liked Laporte as a fantasy asset. Good attacking threat. He's always there, flying in off corners and that as well.
Yeah.
4.5 million last season, for example, or the season before, would be an absolute steal.
Yeah.
It's just because they've signed Akanji, Aki is getting more game time. They can afford to rest Diaz and stuff. Stones is there or thereabouts. They got like 5 centre backs now, haven't they? So it's really tough. And you don't even know who's their number 1 centre back really at the moment, do we? We don't know if it's Diaz. We don't know if it'll be Laporte because he changes year on year. It was Laporte, it was Diaz, then it was Laporte. Who is it this year? We have no idea. So I think it's tough. So Gomez 3.7 in the kind of Sessegnon, Simicas, just get a few minutes every game guaranteed mould looks pretty good. Just in the absence of no defenders apart from Silva and Cancelo doing anything. Probably go for Gomez, and I think who's got that attacking threat. Got an assist today, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, same. Foden, Gomez. Obviously, Gomez at a value of 3.7, cheap.
You can have a cheap block there. Now you could have like Gomez 3.7, a Kanji 4. Obviously, it's expensive for Cancelo, but if you can work out which 3, even just 3 of them are going to play, you can have a quite cheap block there. Which obviously for Man City, they look the only team capable of keeping a couple of clean sheets on the trot.
Yeah,
but it's just working out who's going to be their main ones, or maybe Pep has decided this year he's just going to play them all and keep them all fresh. It's obviously a nightmare for fantasy.
Yeah, there's a lot of top quality defenders there. One to keep an eye on. Question 2 from Patrick. In your opinions, which Arsenal players are most likely to play both League and Europa games? So obviously we've seen a couple of games now, so we've got a bit more of an idea. What do you reckon, Fergie?
I don't think there's many, is there? And obviously things will change as well. Like even looking this week, Arsenal got Liverpool on the weekend, so they'll definitely put out second string this week, I think. This is the reason I got rid of Saliba, and also the reason I want to get rid of Ramsdale.
Yeah.
Is even though Arsenal are playing really, really well, they obviously blanked, don't they, in a couple of weeks as well, whereas all the other teams play. Actually they don't today. They're playing
they play a PSV game.
It's PSV they're playing, so ignore that, sorry, yeah. But I probably wouldn't go for Arsenal just based on based on them getting multiple games. But there's an argument that Jesus and Martinelli, for example, and Saliba even, are just really good value in their own right anyway, I suppose, even playing one game. So, but in terms of having two, I haven't seen anyone of note. I don't know if you guys have.
Martinelli, I think, got the other game.
Okay.
Obviously, likes playing Ketia instead of Jesus.
Yeah.
But then Smith Rowe's out injured now, any longer term now.
Yeah.
So there definitely will probably be a couple of the players lining up. But yeah, obviously Ramsdale. He's looking at, is it Turner that came in for him the last one? It's tricky. Like you say, a big game at the weekend. They sat top at league, Arsenal. I think they want to play too many of them big guns. It'd be interesting if Xhaka gets another game. Another lad that I brought in, Vieira, the other week. Hopefully he plays again this week. He's in my top side. So it'd be nice to get a few points out of him against Bodo. But yeah, from the first team, there don't seem to be many. What do you reckon, James?
Well, we can only go on what he did in the last game against FC Zurich, and I had a look at the team, and like you said, Martinelli. It's a reasonable chance he'll start with Smith Rowe not available, but I'm sure they've got other players they could stick in there if they felt they needed a rest. Xhaka played, I noticed, and Gabriel, and Turney, but Turney's very injury prone, isn't he? So they'd be my top three, but who knows? We've only got one game to base it on.
Yeah, true, because the one with
it was called off, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
I was looking at that, and they brought a couple of the big guns on in the second half. They brought Zinchenko on in the 69th minute, Odegaard and Saka also, and then they brought Jesus on for the last 12 minutes. So they're still getting minutes in the game, but I don't know if they'll do that before Liverpool. I reckon Martinelli will play though. I think he'll start the match, and he might play Saliba this week just to give, because Gabriel played the last one, but you don't know, do we really? But that Xhaka's quite interesting at 2.6 million. The way he's going this season, he's playing a lot higher up. He's playing a bit more higher as like number 8 now. He used to be playing like in front of the defence, blocking everything, getting red cards. But he seems to be getting involved. He's always in the box when the ball's out wide. You see, and the ball's coming in against Tottenham. He was really involved with all the attacks. He's got 2 goals and 3 assists this season. I remember a few weeks ago, David in the Discord, he brought it up and everybody laughed him off. And he's looking at it now. It was a good move, 2.6 million. They probably would have got him for about 2 million then.
Yeah.
To be fair, Ben, you did ask me what I thought of Xhaka before the game week started, and I was like, well, it must be something he'll normally go for. And then he scored. You didn't put him in, did you? And then he scored.
No.
I
was looking at him because I seen a heat map, and his heat map was like really advanced this season compared to last season. I was thinking, interesting. Like if he's getting involved and getting in the box for attacking at chances, and that could be one for an enabler.
He's got a hell of a shot in him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
As well.
Takes set pieces as well.
Yeah. Want to know, Xhaka? Obviously, you've got to keep an eye on whether Thomas Partey stays fit, because as soon as he's injured, he'll be probably going back to his number 6 role, won't he?
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be either him or Lokonga.
Yeah, Lokonga as well. He'll probably be playing in the Europa League, I guess. Lee Hooper, question 1. He's got a couple of questions too. I got rid of Jesus in most of my sides, but he's heavily owned. Should I be thinking of finding a way to get him back in? I'm thinking it all comes down to if we play much in Europe, and feel he'll be wrapped in cotton wool and barely played, meaning he's not needed. I think we just touched on that. We've obviously got 12 minutes in the last game in the Cup, so he could still sneak on there. Do you think he should be clambering to get him back in, doing the okey-cokey with Jesus? Fergie?
I don't think you need to immediately, but I'm saying that Liverpool match is obviously not as scary one as it has been over the last few seasons now, because they just can't defend for some reason. So in other formats, I'm considering holding on to him. In Sky, for example, I was an easy move, kind of Jesus to kind of Maddison, but I'm thinking I was doing Salah to Maddison because I fancy Jesus to outscore Salah next weekend. Just the way the two teams are playing. So I don't think he's like a must-have back in. If he was like 3.5 or 4 million, then maybe. But he's still, was he nearly 6 million? So I don't think he's a must-have. But I think if you've got him, I'd probably hold him, because after Liverpool, they've got Leeds as well. They got a couple nice matches after that.
Run.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I think like Kane will match him, and other players can match him as well. So I don't think he's a must-have by any stretch.
Yeah. James?
To be honest, I think Fergie's nailed it there with that. There's no desperate reason to get him back in. We know he's not going to play probably not going to play in Europe much. So, well, I suppose it depends on who you're going to take out for him, really. But yeah, and I think Fergie nailed it with his answer.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at it, and yeah, Jesus is a good third choice striker. Yeah, but like you say, minutes going to be managed in Europe, and they're playing Europe every other game because of the postponement with Man City, so the PSV games there now. And but I was looking at his price, and Foden is the same price as Jesus, and he'll be playing most games. By the looks of it, he'll be playing Europe as well. He's got 6 goals now and 3 assists and 1 star man, and Jesus got 2 star mans, 5 goals and 3 assists. And I also had a couple of other names down. I've got Skamaka. If you wanted to open up a bit of value in the team, it looks like he's nailed his place in the team with that goal at the weekend. He's got 4 goals already this season and 2 star mans. Although they came in the Europa Conference League with the dodgy ratings, but I think if you score, you've got a good chance of getting star man in that. But will he play in Europe now if he's going to be nailed in the league? That's the only thing.
That's the question.
Yeah. And obviously, Son's around the same price as well, 5.8 million. But last week, everyone would have been clamouring to get him in. But he didn't look very good at the weekend. But Son's a great player. He's only got 3 goals and 1 assist so far and 1 star man. But yeah, Skamaka's on 38 points, Son's on 35. But the value, you've got 2.9 million there. You could use a lot of money there elsewhere in your team.
The big question for me, in terms of the whole game, really, is: do we think that what's going on at the moment is just going to carry on, or do we think that things are going to revert to the mean? Because it's just so, because you could completely reconfigure your team and get in players like, as an example, like we're talking about the kind of players we're thinking about that we wouldn't even consider normally, and taking out top defenders, Trent, Salah, and whatever else. And all of a sudden, the game could just settle down and revert back to the norm. And then we're all in a bit of a mess. I think it's so hard to decide. I do think the benefit we've got this season that we haven't got in other seasons is obviously in the World Cup, we get a complete kind of reset anyway. So even if we do kind of balls our teams up, you can just reset after anyway. But I find it really hard to decide what's going to happen. And at the moment, like Liverpool, you just expect Liverpool, they'll suddenly just change. Out of the Bournemouth game, and they'll just be amazing again and must-haves. But they're just not doing it, are they?
Yeah, Salah blanked in that
tough.
Game.
He did blank in that
9-0,
game.
was it? What was the score again? Bournemouth 9-0.
9-0. I think he played 90 minutes as well, or close to.
Yes, I think
you can't make that up, can you?
Everyone's trying to pick this point where Liverpool assets are going to become good assets again. How far is that price going to fall? I mean, if they concede again against Rangers and Trent doesn't get an attacking return, how cheap is their how cheap is their back line going to be? And then it is who's bravest at the right time then. And it's who's going to time it right, jumping off at the right week. Van Dijk will be down to like 4.7 million. The likes of Matip, like 4.5. What's Trent on now?
Robertson's 4. He's 5.6, but he's going to go down this week again. Well, you guess, because I just can't see him. I can't see them keeping a clean sheet against Rangers.
Yeah,
Just the way they're playing, just the way they're defending.
Yeah,
like against anyone, you can't see him keeping a clean sheet against anyone at the moment, which is, and he's 5.6. You probably go down. You could get like both Trent and Robertson, and you get a Liverpool like back line soon for like all the back line for like 16, 18 million. It's crazy.
I remember that season a couple of years ago when Liverpool were off the boil, and then I think it was like 10 games to go, and they just turned it back on again.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Kept winning, and Alisson scored that goal, didn't he? Against West Brom.
Champions League.
West Brom, the header was amazing.
They beat Leicester to the last Champions League place, didn't they?
The difference is with that season, though, we had loads of injuries in defence, and we were playing Henderson at centre back and Fabinho at centre back. We're part of Robertson's out at the moment, but Tsimikas is a very able deputy most of the time. We've got a good set of defenders there, and we're still looking like we're gonna. I mean, Brighton could. I watched the highlights. Brighton could have scored 4 in the first 20 minutes. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Honestly. Anyway, don't get me started. They look terrible defensively.
I'm waiting for you to shout Klopp out.
Never say that.
Yeah, tricky. It's when is it going to revert back to normal? What all we're waiting for really is for another side, because Chelsea, Liverpool. I mean, obviously Arsenal are doing well. They're going to have a big test in this month, but every time I know they lost at United. Other than that, they've looked very, very good. They look very good against Spurs. I know Spurs haven't hit the heights quite at the moment, but Arsenal played very well. They made Spurs look very ordinary.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to take
Arsenal. Go on, sorry, James.
I was just going to say I think it's going to take a tactical change, quite a radical tactical change from Klopp to shore up the defence, because every team now, it's like we've been found out. They're targeting the fullback positions, and that is their number one tactic. And every ball is almost, loop it over. Trent's gone up the field, loop it over that side. Tsimikas has gone up the field, whack it over that side. I mean, sounds very simple, but they are literally targeting that now, and it's and the offside trap's not working like it was. I think they need a radical shake-up in tactics mid-season, which is crazy, but I don't see any other way that it's going to stem the flow at the moment.
I got 5 of the pricks in my team. It's killing me. I just realised I got 5 of them.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
I mean, what's their ownership dropping to now? I bet it's dropping low. Where's the percentage on here? We've got Robertson's at 6.7% owned, Matip at 1.2% owned, Van Dijk 16%, Trent 28%. I mean, what was Trent last season? He was
60, 70.
60, 70%, weren't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Salah 31% owned. Yeah. Unheard of usually in the dream team world, but that's how it is at the moment for Liverpool. Like I say, there will be a sweet spot. There'll be a game week when they're at the right price, at the cheapest price that they're probably going to be all season, you're on them, and then you could be flying.
There's a financial saying. It goes something like, "Never catch a falling knife." I don't know if that translates, but
Yeah.
they could just keep going. So trying to find that entry point, it may not happen.
No. Liverpool City short though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. I'm worried about that game, I can tell you.
City are going to batter him at this rate, aren't they? I think Arsenal will next weekend.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Tough few games there. Tough few games. I wouldn't be wanting to having Trent in those games. I don't want to tempt fate again, but he could be picking up a -6 as well.
He's got to go on Friday.
It's amazing how people are saying that now, isn't it? Like last season, he was unbelievable. Third best player in the game. Was he second best player in the game? Something like that.
He was second highest scorer in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you honestly see Arsenal not scoring less than 2 goals against them?
I think they look very good going forward, Arsenal. I don't think it'll be a problem for them, which is scary, but yeah. Well, the tables have turned. Over the last couple of seasons, I think it's been Arsenal who's been getting a hard time on this pod.
It's you and it, Tony, normally give him a rag, you know?
It usually is, but I've got nothing but good things to say about Arsenal this season.
Absolutely.
So
Superb. The intensity is amazing. And
yeah, it's clicked for them.
it really has. They've got the intensity superb. Their collectiveness, like working as a team together. Everyone knows their jobs. Everyone puts everything 100%.
Yeah.
And Jesus is just their talisman with all that, and he exemplifies exactly what they're trying to do. It's really, really
I think
good
everyone feeds off him. His energy.
His energy is amazing.
He's a workhorse up the front. He's got the quality as well. He's got everything, Jesus.
Yes.
And I think that just filters through the rest of the team. And they've got, like you say, just a real unit they've got going there now. Bought well, and to be fair to the Arsenal board, they stuck by Arteta through the tricky times and reaping the rewards now. Right. Second question for Lee Hooper was how many transfers? He's too many straight off the bat when we get the new transfers for October. It feels like any more than 2 is too many unless you need to be radical and have major issues. You reckon, James, you've obviously been known over the seasons to play it cool with your transfers. So you had a bit of a sticky start. So what are you going to be doing?
I don't think there is a hard and fast rule. It depends on your team and your situation, really. I would say I normally do use a couple to sort of switch things up a bit at the start, and it depends how long the month is as well. Of course, you need to factor that in. We've got 4 weekends in October, which is not an extra long month, but it's not a short one either, I would say. That the short months are the ones to come in November and December and January. So yeah, I would say there's no hard and fast rule. It's team dependent, and if you need to make some changes to your team, just do it. But try and keep one back for injuries as always.
Yeah,
I think you covered it well there, mate, James. Try not to use as many transfers. Try and keep as many transfers back as possible if you can. If you've got players and they're scoring, I wouldn't go mad, especially with 4 weeks until the next window. So yeah, try not to use too many, maybe 2 at most. But if your team's in a shit storm, you need to use a 4 probably. But always try to keep them back for injury.
Fergi with 5 Liverpool players? Five off the bat.
This is exactly what I'm doing. Is I'm not in a spot really. I can afford to hold on. I'm just looking at Liverpool's fixtures now over the next few. Like they got Arsenal and City up next. There's no way I'm holding on to Trent. No way in the world. I'm not holding on to Salah. So that'll free up like loads of money. But it obviously frees up loads of money for you to make other moves. as
Yeah.
well. So I'll probably end it. I do think if you're if you're in the same boat as me, if you're just struggling along with players who are just not getting points, because we've got the World Cup, it's different. I think it's different to know. I don't think you have to be as patient as normal, because obviously we're going to have 5 transfers at the start of November to use for 2 game weeks as well. So
Yeah.
and then this thing. So I would say maybe try and concentrate on getting in players who you think you're going to want after the World Cup as well, who are going to rise. If you like, I think for me, I want to get to Cancelo, because he's going up and up and up, and he could end up, if I leave him another month, he could end up at 8 million, and then I want to buy him at Christmas. It'll cost me 8 million, or even more, for example. So I think if I keep going the way I'm going, I'm not going anywhere. I'm treading water by holding on to Salah, holding on to Trent. Fixtures are awful. They do improve, especially offensively, from the middle of the month. I'm saying that there's still away to Ajax and home to Napoli, so you could even get Salah potentially back then. But I don't think Trent is, as much as I can't believe I'm saying it. I think Trent at the moment is a massive like trap. He's
Yeah.
he's a damp spot in your team, just not doing anything for you apart from eating up loads and loads of money. So yeah, I'll probably be using 4. I'll probably get in Salah out, Trent out, and just having a rejig, because at the moment it's just not working. Probably Elliot out. He was just, I only had Elliot in to enable these expensive players who aren't doing anything. So maybe Martinelli, maybe Scamacca, maybe Bowen, maybe the Chelsea defender, something like that, just to mix it up a little bit. I think Chelsea will improve defensively, and their fixtures are actually okay as well.
Yeah.
Chelsea's, for example. So I still, I know we mentioned this last month. It hasn't come to fruition yet. They're still conceding, but Fofana is still only 2.9. Cucurella is only 3 million. So I still think there's opportunities there as well. So yeah, I would say if you're struggling, try and make a change, especially if you hold Liverpool defenders, expensive ones. If not, keep it going as you're going and just play the way you're playing, because it's clearly working, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to spend them transfers if needed. No sideways moves. No need to panic. Like I say, if things are going well, just keep going.
Absolutely.
Agree with all of that, lads. Right. Aman Tatler. The Kulusevski owners stick with him or sell him next week. Fergie is your man. He's a Spurs player. What do you reckon?
Yeah, he's not getting the minutes, is he? This is the problem. He didn't start 3 on the trot, and I think he did start 1, and then he's been injured. So I think for me, I think he's probably a sell now, just because Richarlison has probably done better than I think a lot of people expected him to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to drop Richarlison at the moment because, again, of his intensity. Obviously, he scored the goals in the Champions League.
Yeah.
I think when you get to a point that you're pleased when a player starts, it's time to think about moving him on, which is where I am with Kulusevski. So I would probably say move him on, personally, unless Richarlison or Son gets injured, for example, or Kane.
Yeah. James?
Well, I've got rid of him in quite a few teams, including the podcast team. And yeah, I mean, he is injured at the moment. Apparently they're waiting on an MRI scan to understand the problems. That might be the thing that tips the balance. I mean, obviously he's going to be out for any length of time. He's definitely got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fergie summed it up pretty well there. He's just he's not starting enough games, is he? Yeah, I would get rid.
Which is amazing considering how he finished the season. He was superb, wasn't he?
He was
amazing.
unplayable.
Yeah.
Ben?
Well, yeah, it's bit of a tricky price point. There's not many players
Yeah.
around that are any good in midfield. Martinelli's a good price. He's playing up front though. I think you might have to think about that and rejig your team. Maybe bring in Martinelli. Bowen's 4.1. You've got Sancho's got decent fixtures coming up. And Anthony, they're a bit more. Anthony's a bit dearer though. Shaka, no, but he might not play in the Europe. So it's hard with the Arsenal midfielders. Like you've got Vieira in your best team, and he could be good to have in there because he'll play the European games and he'll play Bodo Glimt the next 2 games. But like you say, you're looking at the team sheets every week, like Fergie says, and you're hoping that player's playing. It's tricky. There's no like nailed players around that price point. It's tricky.
Yeah, it's exactly why I sat on my hands with Kozeski this week as well, because there wasn't much nowhere to go really. You'd be taking a little bit of a punt, to drop him out for somebody. I didn't fancy it, so I just left him. But once the new transfers come around, and you've got like a bit more info on him, and maybe a couple of transfers to go at, where you could take somebody else out and put a little bit more value on him and bring in someone at the 5 million point, then it's probably worth doing then.
I was having a look, and the only player roughly at that price point who has got a chance of like playing twice in Europe is like Southcheck for West Ham. And it's like I couldn't do it. So I was the same as you. I looked at getting rid of him. I couldn't find anyone to go to. It's crazy.
Should have picked Almiron, mate.
I had him in my game week 1 team.
I know you did, yeah.
Unbelievable.
You were like talking about him at the start of the season, weren't you? And then he did nothing until this weekend.
What a guy. He scored against Man City as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Off his penis.
He had a hat trick this week though. He got offside win at the last goal.
His second goal was a screamer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely goal that.
Did you see him? He FaceTime. Did you see him FaceTime in Grealish after the match?
Oh no, I didn't.
No.
Yeah, he FaceTimed him.
Class, I love that.
That's brilliant. Excellent. Alan again has been on. How does Thiago Silva get star man in every single game? James?
Well, I've had a look into this and sort of compared him to some other players. I'm not sure I can answer the exact question because we don't know what the magic formula is for who scored. But what I can tell you is he's averaging 7.4 on the ratings, which is pretty high. There's only 6 players higher than him, which is Mitrovic, Pickford, Cancelo, Jesus, Foden, De Bruyne, and Haaland. And if you look at the number of 7 ratings he's got, he's got 7, and 4-star mans. And I think Fergie found out quite an interesting stat as well. I don't know if you want to mention that one, mate.
Well, Thiago Silva has scored 45 Sun Dream Team points this season. Over 90% of those points have come from ratings and star men. So he has only scored 4 points via clean sheets or goals or assists. 4 points, which just looking down the list, just for example, like even Tarkowski for Everton has like scored 14 points. So he's only scored 4 points from clean sheets, but he is the 9th highest scoring player in the whole game. So Haaland's got 47 rating and Starman points. Silva is far and away second with 41. So absolutely mental. And this is just a quirk of the game. Like, if you think of other games, FPL, Telegraph, all right, you're doing right in Sky because it's passing. But you wouldn't be looking at him at all, would you? He wouldn't have scored hardly any points. But just because he's a good player, not keeping clean sheets in Dream Team is rewarded. So I think it's worth looking at. And he's probably going to rise again this week. He'd be it'd be 6 million. Whereas like he'd probably still be better value than someone like Fafana or Cucurella or whatever. It's just a crazy quirk of the game. Madness.
Yeah, I think it was Was it Patrick who asked us this a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
I think this consensus we came to, surely it can't continue, but it is looking like it's happening. It just keeps happening. So it could be just one of these weird quirks, like Fergie said. Maybe we should all be jumping on him, even though he's 5.7. If he's going to hoover up all these 7 ratings, and so he's got 4-star Mans awards already. That's pretty decent haul, isn't it?
That's four-star Mans in a row as well that he's played in. He only
Wow.
missed one. He missed one game in the Champions League, so he didn't get a rating in that game. But yeah, it's the last 4 games he's played in, he's got star man.
And they've conceded in most of them as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they've conceded in 8. Is it 8 or 9 games in a row now? Chelsea have.
I think
They
it
only
was
got a
against
clean
Ham.
sheet. They've only got one clean sheet this season, and that was in the first game against Everton. It's crazy.
Crazy.
I was looking. Why is he getting these star mans? And I thought, I'll have a look at the Sky stats on FF stuff. And he got 116 passes and 1 tackle, and 1 goalkeeper save. You see his handball?
Oh yeah. He was lucky not to get a red, wasn't he?
Well, he should.
He still has star man though, probably. He even got a red card.
Well, yeah, he got sent. If he got sent off for that, he wouldn't have got the assist for the equaliser. But yeah. So maybe they're counting the passes into the rating system. Be interesting to monitor that now.
Yeah, they touched about the defensive players and goalkeepers seem to be doing better for the Starmans this season. And whether it is, like you say, whether passing's come into play, whether who scored have tried to make their ratings a little bit more intricate, and that's just
definitely
feeding
different
through into the Dream Team game. So it'd be
definitely
interesting to know who scores the algorithm and see, have they published any changes to it or anything?
No,
they haven't said anything, have they? So it's definitely more geared towards these defenders, whether that's interceptions, headers, duels, ball, and all that stuff.
Well, look at Harry Kane. He's been a star man magnet for the last few seasons, and he hasn't got 1 star man this season. And he scored 7 goals. Is it 7 or 8 goals?
Yeah,
he only got a 5. He only got 5 for a goal this week. Never got a 7 rating. Strange.
It's strange when you see on that list, Starman bonus. Yeah, the number of 7 ratings, average ratings. It's all the defenders are up there. Anderson at Palace, Shah, Newcastle, Trippier, Newcastle, Pickford at Everton. Obviously, we know Martinez has done all right at Villa for Starman Awards. Meslier got another Starman today for Leeds. A little bit more obvious that one, right? But yeah, they seem to be doing better, these defensive players. Thiago Silva, cheat code. Adama Traore's back.
I was just thinking that. But I brought him in last year when he was in beast mode, and he quickly fell off.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does on the pitch. See if his dribble success still gets him
he might start starting now with the manager being sacked. Bruno Lage is gone.
Yeah, Neto went off as well, didn't he? His foot were in a brace, so there might be an opportunity there for Traore. We will see. Wade is asked about Liverpool. He's obviously got a Liverpool block. Is it stick or twist? I know we've covered quite a lot on Liverpool, James. I know you're probably getting fed up. We're going over it, but would you stick or twist if you had a Liverpool block now?
I would twist. I think you need to reduce that coverage and maybe try and get more City defenders in there, because Liverpool don't look like they're going to turn it around defensively anytime soon, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, Fergie.
Same. I think if you've got Simicast, you may be worth holding on to because he's not eating into your money. So if they do get a clean sheet, you have some coverage there. But I definitely get rid of Trent, Van Dijk, and Matip maybe. So Alisson's 3.9. You probably move off him as well, I think. So yeah, as tough as ridiculous as it sounds, as James said, it's not even like, they conceded an odd goal through a mistake. They look like they just can't defend. And the fixtures, Arsenal and City next, and then they've got Ajax, Napoli, and Spurs later in the month. So 5 of their 8 games this month, a tough, really good scoring opposition. I just can't see him keeping clean sheets and get rid.
Alarm bells ringing. Ben?
I think I have to agree with the boys. Yeah, not looking good for Liverpool. I watched the game, and they didn't look very good at the back, and very sloppy. Van Dijk looks all over the place. I don't know what's wrong with him. Doesn't look the same player. Trent's not doing very well. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of money there you can use to move on to players that are in form. I was looking at the clean sheets actually in the Premier League. Man City are top for clean sheets so far. They've only got 4 clean sheets.
It's low, isn't it? It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Guess who's joint second with Newcastle, Arsenal, Brighton, and Wolves?
I think I know this. I think it's Everton, isn't it?
Bournemouth.
Oh, Bournemouth.
3 clean sheets.
Oh, for clean sheets.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, sorry. Everton have got one of the
Lowest
best
conceded. Yeah.
goal conceded. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mad, isn't it? Bournemouth.
Yeah, so they've had 3 clean sheets like Newcastle, Wolves, Arsenal, Brighton. And then you've got your top teams like Tottenham, Man United, Liverpool are all on 2 clean sheets. And Chelsea have only had the 1, like we said, against Everton at the start of the season.
And we've all got teams packed with Liverpool, Chelsea, and Spurs defenders.
So everyone's conceding. It's like no one's getting clean sheets. No blocks are doing anything.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I do think that I think that things will change, and it's got to go back to the mean at some point. You can't have a whole season of madness, and I do kind of wonder, in all fantasy formats, if you just it's a tough one, just like hold off on certain teams, because if people like start filling their teams with Bournemouth defenders and whatever else, they're quickly going to find themselves in trouble, right? At some point. Whereas if you could try and keep the faith with, I don't know, I've got like Fofana, Simicast, and Sessegnon, for example, who are all really, really cheap but play for top teams. And try and keep the faith there, and not try and chase points for a period of time, which I'm not sure will keep going with the rest of the season. I don't know. I kind of hold out that hope that the experience of playing for so long, like all us guys, will help with that, and not just try and jump onto whoever's scoring points at this moment in time. Do you think that's right, or not? It's a tough balancing act when you keep sinking in rank every week.
You can't chase points, can you? You're going to just stick to how you play the game, and that's fixture volume, number 1, and obviously quality of fixtures comes into it. And then you've got to take form into account, and Liverpool just are nowhere near. I mean, you could even probably put Spurs defence a little bit into that now. Chelsea, everyone's struggling for clean sheets, but you've got to keep the faith, haven't you? You've got to a degree. You can't just rip up your game plan and how you plan for the next few months just because, like you say, Bournemouth have kept 3 clean sheets, so we go firing some Bournemouth defenders instead of our Liverpool defenders. It's not going to work, is it? You're going to quickly find yourself in trouble. You are going to sink. So, yeah, these pivot points, these points in the season are going to be pivotal when there will be a right time to jump on Liverpool. As we touched on earlier, there will be a right time. And if you've had the predominantly City block and Arsenal as well, who started really well, if you've had that team and you do manage to sneak and find that moment where it's best to bring Trent in and Salah in and the big hitters from Liverpool, if you find that moment, then you're going to have a bloody good season.
Because they're going to be cheap as well.
Yeah, and you'll have the extra value from earlier in the season, and you'll be in such a powerful position with money in the bank, and all the top players and all the players that are doing well.
Agree.
But yeah, these players, like the Fofana, the Sessegnon, Simicast to a degree, they've enabled you to have the bigger hitters. Like anybody that's gone without Haaland this season, I mean, them teams are dead.
Yeah.
Like, was he on about 150 points, Haaland already?
Yes.
Yeah, he's 91 points ahead of second place, Foden.
It's just mental. It's just mental you've not had him. I don't think we've ever seen that in a season. Absolutely.
150 points. We're a quarter of the way through the season. Well, we're not even a quarter really because of all the caps.
Yeah.
He's on for a 600-point season.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's mental. Right, Flower Pot Man's been on. Yes, boys, and Fergie. Are you guys planning to use your transfer for points, or are you waiting until the end of October and looking to raise your budget? What's your plans, Fergie?
Well, I haven't got any left. Sorry, end of
For your
October.
October ones.
Sorry, yeah. I won't be. I'll be using them because I'm stacked with Liverpool players. But yeah, like it's funny. Normally, I wouldn't. Obviously, I'd always look to bring in players to score points and have budget as kind of a nice afterthought potentially. But it's funny this season because there's only Haaland. Well, for what I can see anyway, unless I've got all the wrong players, there seems to be Haaland scoring any points, and Cancelo maybe, and maybe a sprinkle like Jesus and Kane. But I can't even think of many players to actually bring in to score points, if that makes sense. So I think probably this season a bit more than others, I may be tempted to look at the budget. I just make sure you've got the players in that you're going to want. Haaland's, Cancelo's, maybe De Bruyne's, maybe Jesus even potentially, probably Kane. I don't know, and then just try and get some cash. So then when you come back after the break, you retain the value. Then don't you of the players? It's interesting as well. Just like thinking about it, because say Haaland. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. I don't know if even though this is right or not. But on the final day, the end of November, say Haaland blanks, gets nothing. Do you think that mean he would drop in price, so you could buy him back after the break for less? Or am I thinking about that incorrectly? I'm not sure.
If he's
I don't know if
already
that'd be the case or not.
If he's already in your team, he's already in your team. So
Yeah, but I mean, if you take him
you
out,
wanted to sell him, the way the prices are going, he'd probably only go down 0.1.
Oh, you're probably right, actually. Yeah,
they're not dropping very quickly, the prices this year. There's not many 0.3 drops.
I get what you're saying, Ferry. I think they must have a cut-off point.
Yeah.
So at the end of that week, so before maybe, I don't know when, I do not know when the games end and how it runs into the World Cup. But like I say, that last weekend, say the games finish on the Sunday, and then that is it. They probably do the price changes on the Thursday before the World Cup, and those price changes then they would then unlock the wild card. Yeah. So if Haaland was to go down 0.3 and he was in your side, your team value would also go down with him.
Because you could sell him, but you could sell him and bring in a riser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To maybe get like a notice. Yeah. Okay, a better example, for example, maybe someone like taking out Trent, if you've got Trent, and he goes down 0.3, and then, so I don't know, say some random like Tarkowski gets a goal and a clean sheet. You could do that transfer basically for 0.6 million on your budget and just bring Trent back on the kind of on the wild card. Then
I think that's the way it'll work. Yeah, you will be able to do that.
So that's interesting. But I think obviously I think it all depends on your situation. But if you did that, you could get a fair few quid there. I've a couple of players if you had any left, couldn't you?
If you did that if you had 5 players, we had someone going down 0.3 and bringing someone in that's going up 0.3. Yeah, that's nearly 3 million over your transfers in November. That.
Yeah, November. But yeah, I just think it kind of all depends on where you are in position. I still think obviously points are king.
Yeah.
For things like mini leagues and stuff, but there's still a hell of a lot of the season to play after because I think it'll be 16 or 17 game weeks. There'll still be Champions League. There'll still be Europa. There'll still be, League Cup. There'll be FA Cup.
Yeah.
There'll be the postponements of the games that have gone. So, I still think we need to look forward and hopefully if we can pick really good teams after the wild card, he's still got a chance of a half-decent season. And Tony got a chance of winning it by the sound of it.
Well,
Yeah, sorry, I'm not giving much of an answer here. I'm just mumbling away to myself. But I think it depends how you're sat. I think you need to change your team up if you're struggling. But if not, it's probably worth just playing it week by week, as as Flower Pot Man once said to me, just play the game week by week and see how you get on.
Yeah. Ben, what are you doing? What's your plans?
Yeah, I agree with Fergie. Definitely be targeting points before price rises, but obviously the points I'll be targeting will give my players a price rise if they get the points I expect them to get. So, yeah. But obviously, if I've got any transfers left at the end of the month, at the end of November, I could do what Fergie said and try and gain 0.6 on the budget. What do you think, James?
Well, it's definitely an interesting strategy, and I hadn't thought of it myself. And it's something that the more casual player would definitely not think of. I think. Certainly, if you've got transfers left over, yeah, you're going to use them to do that. With the state of most of my teams, I think I'll probably be using the transfers during the month, and trying to get on rises anyway, rather than save them all for the end of the month. I mean, it could be a weird end of the month, couldn't it? Where very few players are going up 0-3 or something, and you might end up sort of. You might not get those rises that you were hoping for if you're waiting for the end of that month. I mean, off the top of my head, I would say something like 3 or 4 players go up 0-3 in a single game week at the moment. So there's a chance that there might only be like 1 or 2 of those. So to keep them all back might be a bit risky. Just thinking out loud, basically.
It's interesting as well because in November, Europe stops. So this is obviously going into November now, and then you've got the wild card anyway. So you don't even have to think about targeting European players with your transfers at the end of the month, because it's highly likely that a lot of the top teams will rest their players in the midweek League Cup fixtures, where some of the lesser players, players like maybe Mitrovic or Tony, may get all 3 games. So it may even be worth thinking about coming off players and bringing those in at the end, at the end of November as well. At the end of October, into November as well. It's just like taking advantage of fixtures, and it's but yeah, it's interesting that.
Yeah, I think the obviously in October it's a long month. I wouldn't be if your team's set all right. I wouldn't be using my transfers even for budget. I just hope that the points come, and then the price rises for the points. So, and then obviously, like you said, Benny, you get towards the end of that month of October, and you've got 2 or 3 transfers in hand. You've not had many injuries. You've not had to tinker much. Then you can just throw in a few players that you can for the start of November that might be rising. But yeah, it's chasing points at the minute and hoping the budget follows. What are your your highest budgets? What you've got in your teams so far? Your best sides. I know, James, you did the experiment, didn't you, with the starting a team? Was it a game week later?
Yeah, I started a team in game week 2, and that is by far the highest. Got the highest team value of all my teams, or at least it did the last time I looked. So it's not as high as some people, but that one's worth 56.7 million, and that started in game week 2.
That's higher
and
than all mine.
that is now going to become my cup team. So I've not been making. I've still got 5 transfers left in that one. So I'm gonna use those transfers to set up for the Patron Cup. Literally needs to come up with a strategy to get my team set up early, and then I'll still have transfers throughout the next sort of game month to try and, depending on who I'm matched up with, if they're looking pretty strong, I might match one of their players, or it just gives me more flexibility that way. So it's no longer just a price rise team. I'm going to use it as my Patron Cup team. Well, that's my sort of overall strategy.
Where's that now in your teams? What rank is that out of all your teams?
Well, interestingly, it is now my third best team. And I've literally made no transfers in it this month, and I've saved it for the cup. So
that's amazing. So you just like what you started the season, seeing that who was the best players, then put them in game week 2, and then you've like built your team from there.
Yeah, well, I partly the best players, but quite mainly the main focus was to get on players that were all rising that week.
Yeah.
So I literally put in as many risers as I could in game week 2, and it's clearly worked, because it's more valuable than any other team that I've got, and I've still not made any transfers this month. So this month I've not been chasing the rises, so that I can use that team to set up for the Patron Cup.
Yeah.
My highest teams are 56.2 million. It's not a lot really compared to some teams I've seen. They're about 58 million, I think. What about you, Tony?
There's a 59, isn't there? And someone in Discord.
There is. Was that Aman's?
It might have been Aman's, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. My best side's 58.1. One after that, 56.9. My best 2 sides, which is very good. I'm happy with that going into World Cup. Obviously, hopefully it holds on to that and it gets higher. We're looking about 60, 61, hopefully.
Just had a quick scan of the top 100 on the FF stuff, and the guy in third, Stephen Willoughby's got 59.8 value.
Blimey.
Very, very
Different
good.
game for him, isn't it?
Is it a City block by any chance?
It's not. There's a couple of Newcastle defenders. Pascal Gross is in there. Mitrovic. So there's a lot of Man City players in there though, but not a City defence.
Interesting.
No clean sheets anywhere. Where's yours at, Fergie?
My best's on about 54.6. My podcast team's on about 52. Struggling.
And 5 others pulling.
And he'll go down this week as well by about 1 million probably, because I've only got Haaland who scored any points.
He'll be 9 million, won't he, next week?
Yeah.
He will, yeah, definitely.
Like
He's
it.
8.7, I think, isn't he?
Crazy.
With a couple of goals in there midweek.
It's scary. It's really scary. Right, we've had a DM from Ivor Bigham. With all these defenders getting minus points, is it time to bring in defenders who don't start? James. Excellent. Right, moving on to Baz Bestos. Is overlooking good players from non-Euro teams really a good idea simply because they don't have the double fixture? I know there is a price difference, but is Kulusevski really a better option than someone talismanic like Zaha or Maddison? Fergie, you just touched on a really good point about the fixtures in November, where this could probably work massively in favour. What do you reckon?
I think Zaha, I was having a look at him earlier. I was quite surprised how expensive he was. Like 5.3 million. And Maddison is probably, I'm guessing, more than definitely cool as well. I've just always been I've always been like a probability player, I think, and I just think the fact that I think with Kulusevski, he's probably a bad example because he's not going to play 2 games in a week, so he's gone. But if you look at someone like Sterling, for example, who will play 2, you just have to fancy Sterling to score more points in, even if he doesn't play 180, he plays 160 minutes. You have to fancy Sterling to be playing a top side 160 minutes against someone like Zaha and Madison, who've played 90 for, a top 10 team, say. That's just the very simple way I look at it. Over the long term, there will be weeks where Zaha and Madison will score more, but going with the probabilities, which is what kind of fantasy is about, right? As well, you're not gonna win fantasy football through massive explosive differentials. That's not how you win. You win through, stubborn, hardcore, sensible play. And I think that Sterling probably encapsulates that, whereas Zaha and Madison may get a brace in one game, but they won't outscore, the core players over a long period of time. So that's my thought.
Yeah. Ben?
Totally agree. Just stick to the players in Europe who've got 2 games a week. It's say like over the next 2 weeks, we've got the teams in Europe have got 4 games, and the teams that are not in Europe have only got 2 games. So you could stick Pascal Gross in. He's 3 million. He could get 10 points, but like you say, someone who's playing in Europe might get 18 points because he's got 2 games. So it's better stick to the players with more minutes.
And the ones in Europe are the better teams as well, right? Not
Agree.
Brighton having a fantastic season. So even someone like Trossard, I think he's 3.6. For example, if you brought him in this week, you think it's a genius move, and it probably is, right? You've had an amazing move, right? But how often is he going to do that? I think it's probably only his. I think he's only scored once or twice more all season. So, like I say, the tried and tested players will generally do it more. Like I say, it is a bit. It's funny this year because the World Cup, if it was for the World Cup, I'd be saying don't even think about these other players.
Yeah.
But I do think they come maybe a little bit more into play just because you completely overhaul your team for free in essence. So, but overall, tried and tested for me. And if it doesn't work, I know it'll work next year. We do have these odd seasons from time to time where you get these strange trends. But for me, like Sterling will dramatically outscore Zaha and Madison over a season. Just as an example of those players.
Yeah. James?
Well, it's interesting because I've actually been questioning this myself recently. I always play with European players for obvious reasons. More fixtures makes sense. Probability, as Fergie says, going to get more points. Perhaps when you look at the cheaper enablers, with your likes of your Elliots and your Carvalhos, maybe that is where it doesn't make so much sense because you're putting them in. They're not really getting a lot of points. It might be worth considering some non-European players. I mean, I'm so focused on the top 7. The teams in Europe. I'm not really looking outside that enough, I think, and I think there could be 1 or 2 gems out there. So I don't think we should discount it completely. I wouldn't have more than 1 or 2, probably only 1, but as particularly sort of in the enabler bracket. But it's interesting because last year Ivan Toney did very well in Dream Team, and he's currently the 8th highest scoring player again this year, and he's not playing in Europe. So we've all conditioned ourselves to think. Look at the top 7 sides, try and get the fixture volume, and I do think perhaps we need to be at least considering players outside the top 7.
It's a really, really good point you make, James, about if you are looking towards the non-European teams, maybe where your enablers are concerned, because I did do this in my best side. I took out, I think, the Carvalho I had, and again he did not play, and now my mouse has gone, so I can't click onto the screen I want. But the point I would make it, so I think he was 2 million at the time, 2.2 million. I took him out and I put in, because I wanted the budget, I wanted a bit of money out of him, and I put in Jensen of Brentford, who hasn't ripped many trees, but over the course of that, he's had 2 3-pointers, whereas Carvalho's had a 0, did not play, and a 0.
Yeah, exactly.
And so 6 points gained, and I think I gained about 0.8 in value, which I managed to spend elsewhere, which is obviously he's doing well in that team. So it's a really good point that you make, is rather than picking maybe a lesser player from a big side, pick someone who's probably nailed to start in a lesser side. It might be the way to go. So yeah, good point. Good point. And I completely agree with everything Fergi said on the either Zaha or Madison. It's fixture volume required.
It's just because the teams like Liverpool and Chelsea and that, they're just not performing at the moment. I don't think otherwise it'd even be a conversation.
Yeah,
personally, they're just not performing, and this is why it's tough, isn't it?
Definitely. Final question of the evening comes from John Cameron on Twitter, who would probably be an happy guy actually, because he was direct messaging me the other week, and I told him to put Foden in. It's been an absolute masterstroke. So he's happy with me, he's John. So I'm hoping that he goes to patreon.com/Dream Team Tonic and signs up and shows his appreciation. Anyway, here we are. Is it time to replace Salah? Rashford's back fit and 4 mil would give me 3.7 mil to upgrade elsewhere. What's your thoughts? Cheers, lads. Rashford. James?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't come to me first on this one. I mean, Rashford, I suppose he could provide some good value at 3. If you look at the points per million, he might provide at that sort of price bracket. He might actually be, it turn out to be a reasonable pick. He's not really done it yet, and he seems to be quite injury prone. He always seems to have some niggling thing going on, doesn't he, these days? So what I would say is I would have no qualms about replacing Salah at the moment. I'm not sure Rashford would be my pick to replace him, though, would be my advice.
Yeah, Fergie.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going from my team. Probably the first time in years being able to say that with any kind of confidence. But I personally think Martinelli or Scamacca are probably the two I would look at ahead of Rashford. I think they're much cheaper. I think they'll play more minutes. I think Martinelli's 3.3. Scamacca is 2.9. They'll probably both may go up in value by Thursday, but I think they're better options personally.
Yeah, definitely. Ben?
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this. Salah's just not looking great, so yeah, you could use that budget elsewhere in your team. Martinelli, Scamacca's great options. The next 2 game weeks of Man United look all right, actually, but they've got Everton and then Ammonia, Nicosia, Newcastle. But then it goes Tottenham, Chelsea, then they play Sheriff. But he's playing number 9 at the moment for United. But Martial came back, didn't he? And he came on and scored 2 goals. So be interesting to see what happens in the next match.
Yeah, I would say near Rashford. Wouldn't go near him.
I would say in the middle of the month for Salah, they do have back-to-back. So from Saturday the 22nd, they have Forest. And the following Saturday, they have Leeds. So I would personally just try and think of a way potentially of getting him back. I say that, get him back. Liverpool forward. I noticed Roberto Firmino is only 3.4 million, and if he can keep getting starts, he looks the most dangerous Liverpool attacker at the moment, doesn't he? I'm not saying you have to have Salah back. If Salah's still out of form, I still don't think he's worth it. But against Forest and Leeds, they could be really high scoring games if Liverpool get back to performing half decent.
Yeah.
But I still expect them both to score against Liverpool as well.
Yeah. Well, we have to keep an eye on. It's sniffing out when they seem to have turned the corner. Obviously, the Bournemouth game, everyone thought it was that. It wasn't. Could quite easily see a big score against Forest.
I think Salah will come good again, but it's just like 7.7 million. He hasn't. Every time he has a bad game, he doesn't seem to go down in any value.
It's
and
bizarre,
then when he
isn't
has
it?
one good game, he goes up 0.3 again. So he's like 7.7. He was 7.5 at the start, I think.
How has he possibly retained going up in price?
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
Crazy.
And he's averaging 4.2 points per game. He's on 38 points, same points as Skamaka, but he's 2.9 million. So, and obviously you could move that money into midfield, get Foden in, something like that. I don't know. It's tricky. But he's not doing too well, so at the moment.
Yeah, for me, Skamaka, Martinelli, good options. For me, no. Yeah, he's like say if he's playing, he's a bargain at that price. What's happened to Nunez, James?
I was surprised Firmino started, to be honest, at the weekend. I think it was more down to the amount of travel and game time that they had over the international break. So I personally wouldn't touch Firmino. He's going to be the backup. I mean, if Jota could just stay fit, I think Jota would be a bloody good pick. But he seems to pick up a lot of muscular injuries. Nunez was bought for a lot of money. Klopp will be trying to bed him in. I can't see. I suppose whilst we're struggling, it's going to be harder to. You could argue he's going to stick with his tried and tested, at least up front. Tried and tested at back's not working. So perhaps he's going to reserve Nunez for bench roles until he picks up some sort of form. But I wouldn't put too much store in that last team sheet because of the international break, personally.
Yeah. Right. That's that. Let's go into the top 10, the Dream Team Tonic Cash League. James, you want to give that a read out, mate?
Sure. In joint 10th, we have Brian Gillen and Dan Cox. In 9th, Lee Hooper. 8th, Tom Brinley. 7th, Harry Jones. 6th, Lee Hooper. 5th, Leo Reed. 4th, Leo Reed. 3rd, Dan Bartlam. 2nd, Leo Reed. And top of the league is Anthony Sutcliffe.
Get in. Still there.
Smashing it.
Still
Hey,
there.
it's getting close though now. 1 point.
It is. It is. Beating a trio of Leos.
I don't know how you guys in there have scored so many points. It's just really amazing performance from everyone there. Like
Haaland, Foden, Cancelo, them City, them De Bruyne, obviously, them City lads.
incredible. Well played.
We're at the Patreon League. Ben, do you want to give this out? A read out. Just remember that guy who's in number 7, 7th. That isn't. That is a void.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count. And whilst you read that out, mate, I'll be changing that to void. In my.
So we got joint 10th, Patrick Bryson and Tom Gledhill. In 9th, Dan Morton. 8th, Jake Bevan. 6th, Peter Franklin. 5th, Steve Broughton. 4th, Connor Tobin. 3rd, Barry McCormack. 2nd, Lee Utting. And top of the shop, Brian Blackett.
Well played, Brian. There, 470. Great start. Right. Another reason why you don't play the game picking differentials, because if you have a look at our differential picks this month, they've all been a little bit shy.
Can't be as bad as last month, Tony, surely.
Well, we had Gundogan. I picked Gundogan this month. We had Fergi, who had Nketiah.
I think he scored one, didn't he, Nketiah?
Yeah, he's not done too bad actually. Compared
Oh, only
to
got 5. Oh, you had 5 points though.
I can't find the bloody spreadsheet. Anyway, right, we'll just have a run through. We'll clear it up next week with the when we've got our new picks. James, you went for Alvarez. Has he even had a game?
He's not done a great deal, I don't think.
Ben Bowen did
Gets
all
it.
right for you. Did all right for
13
you.
points this week.
And the community had Bernardo Silva. So we'll top them points up and we'll get the selections made for next month. We'll get the table up and see how that's going. It's been a long one today, lads. We're now hitting the hour and 40 mark. Thanks to everyone that listens, whether that's on YouTube, Spotify, through the Fantasy Football Hub, or if you're already a patron and you listen through the Patreon. All your support's appreciated. Hopefully we've been some help and we'll speak to you next week. Cheers for coming along, Fergie. It's been our pleasure.
Thank you guys as usual. Really enjoyed. Got some good ideas now, I think, of how to attack the transfers on Friday.
Hopefully
Thanks, Fergie.
better month coming up, mate.
Let's hope.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thanks,
Tony.
Fergie.
Cheers.
Cheers, James.
Cheers.
Thanks all.